history of Bordeaux is rich and varied, dating back to the 3rd century BC when Celtic tribes first occupied the area. Viticulture and winemaking in the region has existed for almost as long. However, there is one year in Bordeaux's history that is more prominent than any other, and that is 1855. In this year, the Medoc classification of Bordeaux's left bank was born. Its goal was to establish the most prestigious chateau in the region. By no means the first attempt at classifying Bordeaux's wines, this classification was preceded by dozens of other efforts, dating as far back as the 1600s, when Bordeaux's wine exports were starting to boom. However, no other classification has been able to stand the test of time. Leading up to the 1855 Universal Exposition of Paris, Emperor Napoleon III invited the Bordeaux Chamber of Commerce to select the region's best wines for classification. This initial selection was based primarily on the market price of the flagship first wine of the chateau, otherwise known as their Grand Vin. 57 chateaux were chosen for their red wines, however none were selected from Bordeaux's right bank. In fact, only one producer, Chateau Haut-Brion in the sub-region of Graves, was selected from outside the Medoc. These 57 chateaux were then divided into 5 categories, with only 4 awarded the top-tier ranking of Premier Cru or First Growth. These were Chateau Lafite Rothschild, Chateau Latour, Chateau Margaux and Chateau Haut-Brion. For white wine, 21 estates from Sauternes were selected. These were ranked into 3 tiers, with just one, Chateau d'Yquem, claiming the top-tier status to itself. The 1855 Medoc classification still stands as possibly the single most important and famous classification of any wine region in the world. In fact, over 160 years later, only a handful of trivial changes have ever been made, with one major exception. In 1973, after decades of lobbying, Baron Philippe de Rothschild managed to promote Chateau Mouton Rothschild from second to first growth status. Bottles from this vintage boast the Baron's famous quote, defining his belief that Mouton Rothschild always deserved first growth status. First I am, second I was. Mouton doesn't change. Though the classification systems of Bordeaux can be extremely rigid, they are not always the definitive assessment of quality and price. Nowadays, there are 4th and 5th growths that command higher price tags than some 2nd or 3rd growths. Many producers are now looking beyond this classification, with a movement of super seconds growing in popularity. This group consists of chateaux that are not classified as first growths, but are still producing wines that compete with the top tier.
We know we never be a first growth because you have this invisible glass ceiling, and over there it's magic in crystal, you know, and status symbol and excellent wine as well, but it's different. And just under, I think it's very interesting because you have the super second or so-called second, and for the last 10 years, we have really doing a great job there, and the competition is intense because our glory is quite recent, you know. Now we need to establish it.